Hey everyone, it's Lambomang here. Welcome back to the Ultimate VR Microphone Roundup version 2. Now, a few months back, I uploaded a video where I compared these two microphones, the ModMic 5 and the Audio-Technica ATGM2. And I was comparing them to see which one had the better audio quality for VR recording. And in that video, in my opinion, the Audio-Technica was miles better than the ModMic. However, after I uploaded that video, someone from ModMic contacted me and they were like, hey, we think your mic might be faulty, it's not supposed to sound that bad. So I chatted to them about it, found out, yeah, it was actually faulty. So they sent me a replacement and I took the original video down because, I don't want bad comparisons up there. And so I've been playing around with these mics again for a fair bit and it is time for version 2. So now we actually have a working ModMic versus the Audio-Technica. So I am pretty curious to see how these stack up now. We're also going to throw another microphone into the mix here, which is the lapel mic just here, which is the Rode SmartLav Plus. Now this is the microphone that I used when I started off this channel, so I'll be talking about audio quality as well as the form factor. Same for these microphones as well. I'll be talking about not just audio quality, but the ease of use when you're playing in VR. Now to go over the rest of the hardware, the microphone right in front of me is the Rode NT1, which is what you're listening to right now. So this is going to be my baseline microphone. It's an XLR mic that's plugged into a Steinberg audio interface, and this is kind of a relatively standard setup for live streaming or just general non-VR streaming or recording. So if you're moving from this to VR recording or streaming, you're probably going to want audio that sounds pretty similar to this. So this is what we're going to be comparing all the mics to. Now, the VR headset that I'm using is the HTC Vive, the original Vive with wireless adapter, and I'm also using this little Sound Blaster Play 3 sound card. It's a USB sound card, and it just plugs into, so underneath here there's actually a spare USB slot, and so you can plug the sound card into that. If you're one of the lucky people that has gotten a Valve Index, there's a USB port on the front in what they call the frunk, the front trunk. You can plug a USB sound card into that. And so on the Vive itself, it also has a microphone built into it. It's like right there. You can just see this tiny little dot. There's a microphone in there. It's kind of terrible. So we'll jump into that first, just so you can find out why you should not use the Vive's microphone for streaming. Same for the Rift as well. The Rift's microphone's not that great. So let's jump into the headset and we'll play around with that first. Okay, so this is the HTC Vive's built-in microphone, and it is, it's abysmal. It's like you're probably better off just doing charades with your hands than actually trying to talk with this microphone. So the less time we spend in here, the better, but basically, don't ever use this microphone for streaming or recording. Alright, we're out of the headset now, and I have switched over to the lapel mic because I want to talk about using lapel mics for VR in general. And the audio quality, we'll start there. Audio quality is not too bad. It's really good in comparison to the Vive. So you can't go wrong. Well, anything's an upgrade compared to the Vive. However, there's a few things that hold back lapel mics for VR for me. The first part is that the audio does sound a little bit muffled. It's not quite as crisp as the Rode in front of me, and that's because lapel mics don't do too well with t-shirts. So lapel mics, they're meant to be used with button-up shirts, so usually they'll clip on like around about here and they'll point straight up. And so the reason for that is that having it placed down here means that you've got more of a clearer line between the mic and your mouth. Having the lapel mic where it is right here means that my chin's kind of in the way. So the audio does sound a bit muffled because, yeah, there's a chin in between the audio source and the microphone. The other issue is that this depends on how active you are when playing VR, but if you are getting really into a game and moving around lots, your microphone may pick up your clothes rustling, which is, you don't want those kinds of sounds happening. You just want a nice, clean audio stream of just your voice. And another thing that could be an issue is sweat. It gets pretty warm here. It's Australia. It's a sauna all year round. It's winter and it's like what are we getting? Like 25 degrees Celsius plus, I think. So I've always tried to avoid getting too sweaty when using this mic, but having it like, this close to your skin, I'm a little bit concerned about sweat damage. What you could do though, is that you could do what I like to call the PewDiePie method, which is where he has he's got a Razer Kraken Pro, I believe, but basically it's just a normal gaming headset, and he just attaches the lapel mic straight onto the built-in microphone. So it gets rid of the chin being in the way, it gets it away from your skin so it's not prone to sweat damage, and that's not too bad of a method. But the only issue then is that you have to like manage the cable, because the lapel mic for this, the cable is a decent length, and so it's not going to be as much of an issue if, say, you're on a Rift where you have to run the cable to your PC. You can't plug a USB sound card directly into the Rift. However, with my setup with the Vive, because the sound card is right there, having like a super long cable is a bit of an issue. I sort of have to like, bundle it up and attach it to the back with Velcro or something. So having the lapel mic either on your shirt or attached to a gaming headset, you just end up with too many cables everywhere. It does become a little bit of a pain to manage. Which is why I have moved to using these mod microphones, the ones that you would like attach onto the side of your normal headphones. But with all that said, it's still not a bad microphone. It works pretty well. It'll depend on like, what kind of clothes you wear, how active you are, and it's still definitely a massive upgrade over the Vive. So now that we got that out of the way, let's go to the Audio Technica, which in the last video was my favorite microphone. So let's switch things over a bit. Alright, we're back in the headset, and now we are using the Audio Technica ATGM2. Now, the idea behind this microphone is that it's meant to be attached to the side of a normal gaming headset. Like, as we all know, gaming headsets, the built-in microphones are kind of terrible. They're like a step up above the Vive's built-in one, but also not what you want to use for streaming as well. So the idea behind these kinds of microphones is that, yeah, you could use them to replace the built-in microphone on your gaming headset. But this also works really well for VR, because they come with little adhesive pads, and you can just attach those adhesive pads to the side of your headset. So now you've got a really nice microphone actually attached to your headset. So it does make things a whole lot easier. Now the audio quality on this is pretty good. It's very crisp, it's very clear. It's definitely better than the lapel mic because, again, it is nice and close to my mouth. And the microphone itself is pretty sensitive. However, this does have its downsides, which is that it is very prone to picking up environment noise. It's prone to picking up wind from fans, like the ceiling fan, or if I've got fans on the ground, which, if I'm getting really active in VR, I need fans to keep me cool. And this microphone just picks that up. It can also sometimes happen when you move your head around pretty quickly. Let's see if it picks it up here. Because it's so sensitive, when you spin your head around really quickly, sometimes the wind blowing past the microphone is enough to get picked up. Also, if you've got other people in the house, or it's just loud outside, it will pick up all that background noise. But if you have like a nice, relatively soundproof room to record in, I would definitely say the audio quality on this one is my favorite out of all the mics that I'm going to test. You just got to make sure you've got a recording setup that minimizes the amount of wind blowing onto the microphone. There's one other usability issue as well, which is that the cable that comes with the ATGM2 is pretty long. Where's the end of it? Hold up, I can't even see. Yeah, there we go. It's a pretty long cable. Now, when I was using this for videos, what I would do is I would just bundle that cable up, then attach it to the back of the headset with some Velcro. And so that was relatively self-contained. It just looked a little bit messy because, a nice big bundle of cables right on the back, and then, add in the wireless adapter and all the other stuff. There's lots of cables going everywhere. So it's not really too big of an issue, but it is just something you have to keep in mind. So the Audio Technica, really good audio quality, prone to environmental noise and wind, long cable which can get in the way sometimes. But if you can work around all those things, it is, in my opinion, the closest sounding to the Rode NT. So probably the highest quality is just a little bit of a payoff for that. But we will now switch to the ModMic 5 and we'll have a listen to how that sounds. Okay, so this is the ModMic 5 and the audio quality on this is pretty good as well. Compared to the ATGM2 though, I would say that it's not quite as crisp, it's slightly more muffled, but it does seem to be getting a little bit more bass. But the audio quality is pretty comparable, it's still pretty high quality, and honestly this mic is probably my favorite out of all of them now, and it's not just because of the audio quality, it's also because of the cable. Now, when you buy a mod mic out of the box, the microphone itself has this really tiny cable because, you know, usually you just plug it straight into your headphones if your headphones have a microphone slot on them. The microphone itself does actually come with extension cables as well, but this works really well for VR because I can just attach it to the side of my head and then just feed it straight into the USB audio device, and it's really neat, really tidy, and it just works. So while the audio quality is very close to the Audio Technica, I would say slightly worse. The Audio Technica is still a bit crisper and clearer in my opinion. Just having that short cable, usability wise, yeah, I would definitely choose the ModMic over the Audio Technica, just for the usability alone. So the microphone has got two modes in it. It's got the omnidirectional mode, which is where it picks up sound pretty much from any direction around it. And it's got cardioid mode, which is where it mostly picks up sound from in front of it. So if I go switch to that, this is the microphone with cardioid mode on, and it's not that great. So avoid using it in this mode. It's not as good sounding as the omnidirectional mode. It's not as good as the Audio Technica. Probably worse than the lapel mic as well. So let me just go switch that back to omnidirectional. And here we are back on Omni. So the idea behind the cardioid is that it's great if you've got loud noises close to you. Say if you're playing at a LAN and you've got people side by side, you'd switch it to cardioid so it just picks up you. However, if you are just VR streaming, you're not going to have people that close. And the microphone is not as sensitive to environmental noise as the Audio Technica is. So keeping it in omnidirectional mode is perfectly fine. It's less prone to picking up noises that are around you, and it's nowhere near as sensitive to wind. So I can usually have the ceiling fan or other fans around me turned on, and the microphone doesn't pick them up. So all that combined, even though I would say the Audio Technica is still just slightly better audio quality-wise, usability-wise, the ModMic is way better. Shorter cable, less prone to environment noise, less prone to wind. It's pretty good. And it's the microphone that I'll be using from now on for all my videos and all my streams. Okay, I'm back on the road again, just for a little bit of a refresher, so now that you've heard all those other mics, you can compare it to this again. So, yeah, I would definitely say the ModMic is my favorite microphone now. Now that I've got one that works, it's just, audio quality is really good, and the usability is fantastic. It's like, this mic wasn't designed for VR, but it works really well for VR. And yeah, all these microphones, no equalizers, no compressors or everything, so you can then take an equalizer and make them all sound even better. Price-wise, the ModMic and the Audio Technica are very similar. I'm not sure what the US prices are, but in Australia, they're both about 100 Australian dollars each. So it's not like you'll have to choose one over the other because of budget. They're both the same price. Basically, just choose the one that's best for you. And for me, that's the ModMic 5. So, to sum it all up, lapel mics, not a fan. They're not the best for VR, especially if you're really active. Mod mics, they're really good because they attach to the headset themselves. Audio Technica, really crisp, really clear. Probably the most similar to the XLR microphone I've got here, but the cable is a little bit too long and a bit messy, and it's a bit too prone to environment noise and wind. And then the mod mic is usability-wise the best because of the short cable, less prone to environment noise and wind, so it works really well when you're getting super active in VR. And let's not even talk about the Vive mic. Let's just forget that even exists. Actually, before I end, I should add that I've heard some tests of the Valve Index's microphone, and it actually sounds really good. It's like almost as good as the ModMic, I would say. So if you have got a Valve Index, you may not need to get one of these microphones. I mean, I would love to get a Valve Index, but they don't sell them to Australia yet, which is really sucks. So I can't quite compare them myself. But if you've got one, definitely worth giving its built-in microphone a try. But yeah, that was all the microphones that I've got, all the microphones that I've ever used for VR recording. I mean, actually, at one stage, I was using like the built-in microphone on my phone's headset, and I'm like, nah, let's not touch that again either. It's still better than the Vive, but it's not great. But yeah, let me know down below which microphone you liked, which one you think sounded the best, because a part of this will be subjective, it will be personal taste. And if there are any other options you've seen or any options that you use for recording or streaming VR, let me know as well, because I'm curious to see what other people are using. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button, hit subscribe. Once I've finished recording this one, I'm going to be recording a video of my whole VR recording and streaming setup, do a little bit of a tutorial on how to set one up for yourself, so that'll be coming in the very near future as well. I hope you all enjoyed the video, hope you found it informative, and I will see you in the next one.